Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Crypto Philanthropy, your guide to crypto-powered change. Nick Mikulewski from The Giving Block here, and really excited to bring a really special episode. This is probably one of my favorite episodes of the year. So we're announcing our 2026 annual report on crypto philanthropy and digital fundraising innovation. I'm really excited, and we have a very special guest today, Emily Facilla, Head of Strategy at The Giving Block, to walk us through the report. Emily, thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. It's one of my favorites too. I get so excited to see this report come out every year.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, and it was such a banner year. I mean, before we kind of get into the report, thoughts on the year. I mean, I hope you're rested and recharged. We're into February now, but I mean, it was a really busy end to 2025. So from your perspective, out there with nonprofits, how did it all go?
It was an incredible year. It was one of the most sustainable years from a fundraising perspective I think we've had maybe ever. So, what I mean by that is typically we do have some of those lulls, maybe a little bit of a lull at the beginning of the year, a little bit of a lull in summer. But what you'll see from the report, summer was super active. It almost felt like we didn't have a break, but that was a good thing, right? Our nonprofits were getting more active. I think nonprofits are getting more savvy in general at crypto fundraising with us. They're getting more comfortable with it, getting their teams on board. So it was kind of all on an upswing the whole year. But it was great. Very busy, but it's good. It's a good kind of busy for us, definitely.
And if you haven't seen our reports in the past, I mean, I this might be a phrase I've used, many times, but I always like to think that the Giving Block puts out the definitive industry report every single year. So if you haven't seen this or aren't familiar with what this report is, this is all of our learnings. These are all the metrics, all the stats, all of the trends that we're seeing from the ground, from the industry, everything a fundraising team who is in the space that wants to understand how the landscape has changed, or for those nonprofits looking to get an education on what is even going on in the space. Maybe we've heard some rumblings around some nonprofits that have done this. Maybe they heard about a big donation that came in and wanted to sort of get a grasp and understanding of what's actually going on. So, Emily, is that kind of like a decent synopsis of like why we try to put this report out every year?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest benefits of the report is those shared learnings from other nonprofits that are doing the work, as well as the data. The numbers speak for themselves. It's so important. It's so important for a fundraiser who's looking to implement crypto fundraising at their nonprofit to understand the potential here. And that is what these numbers really are able to convey. We love to say a good nonprofit runs like a business. If you want to grow, you're going to the data, you're going to look at where innovation is leading, look at different ways that you can improve your processes, make yourselves more efficient to grow toward your mission and toward your nonprofit's vision, right? And a lot of that begins with knowing the numbers and stepping back and saying, what's possible here? And I love that about our report. We really show what is possible in crypto philanthropy as well as innovative digital philanthropy.
Yeah, well, it seems like this, 2025 was one of our biggest, if not our biggest year that we've seen. And really, hats off to this amazing charitable community. It was tremendous to see, the amount of impact and the engagement from donors from all different backgrounds. So I guess, maybe the executive level summary, like what are some of the highlights? Where do you want to start? And maybe what are some of the key messages that people should know right off the top before we start digging into, some of the metrics in a little bit more detail?
Absolutely. So I think one of the most exciting things was this year we processed over $100 million in crypto. So in just one year, we were able to reach $100 million in crypto donations that benefited a number of our nonprofits across our platform. Another really exciting piece for me personally was to see that every single state was represented in those donations across the US. So, where perhaps some people in the past have said, oh, well, we're just not in the right crypto market, we saw donations across every single US state. And we'll get into, especially when you open the report, which US states gave the most crypto. But that was also very exciting to see that, if you're watching this and you're from a state where you think absolutely no one has crypto here, we're happy to say that you're wrong about that. There is crypto everywhere. And so it was really great to see that representation. Huge headline for me as well. And Nick, you know this. We've been here for so many years now. To see the average crypto donation was $11,019 was wonderful. To have that average crypto gift be over $11,000 is just fantastic. And it's because this is an asset that can, build wealth over time. And so those gift sizes can be larger. If you're just focused on cash donations, you're seeing an average of maybe $128 each gift. To have one gift of crypto be $11,000 on average is just transformational for these nonprofits. So that's a really exciting one. And then my personal favorite out of the report, I almost don't even want to say it because I want everyone to have that wow factor, that feeling that I felt when I read it. But 1 in 5 nonprofits on the Giving Blocks platform raised over 100K in crypto in 2025 alone. So that to me is just such an indicator of across so many different missions and so many different types of nonprofits, whether it's direct service or a faith-based organization and a university, we're seeing 100K in crypto raised in 1 year for every 1 in 5 nonprofits at the Giving Block. That is so exciting, right? That 100K can do so many different things. And for some nonprofits, it was actually into the millions, but to have that average is really fantastic.
Yeah, I think we'll see that gap start to close. And I know I told you this, I think offline at some point, like that 1 in 5 felt natural. And again, that's, there's certainly a lot of organizations that are, have started their programs and are seeing some good results, especially for the organizations that just got on in the last year. So I think we'll see that number start to get a little bit smaller, maybe the 2 in 5 and maybe 1 out of 4, especially with this asset class maturing. So it was intriguing to see that data point, something I think will continue to track over the coming years. But in terms of some of those headline numbers, maybe let's take a quick kind of step up too, in terms of like the digital fundraising kind of landscape in general. What were some of the trends that you kind of spotted in terms of like the shift and how are nonprofits kind of reevaluating, the digital tools that they're putting out there?
Absolutely. Great question. So, we have been the leading experts in crypto philanthropy for so long. What we've been very excited about the past few years is being able to add stock giving online, so digital stock donations as well as digital DAF donations. We've made it so easy for donors to give in these ways across all 3 assets, right? Crypto, stock, or DAFs, wherever you're holding your wealth. It's so easy for donors to reach these nonprofits. And that has transformed stock giving in 2025. So we saw 127% year over year growth in the stock donation volume. The average stock gift size was $51,250. So if you're not already utilizing an online stock giving tool, you need to be.
Yeah, and I guess for those organizations, they have the brokerage, it's set up, the gifts kind of come in through a channel. Maybe it could sometimes seems like there isn't a problem there. It's nothing really to fix. We've got a way for people to give, and they can contact us right here. What are some ways to just look at that process in general and talk about how the digital side might be something to still consider, even though you might have a brokerage or a broker that already handle some of these conversations for you already?
Absolutely. We love the traditional way of donating stock because it's what really began stock philanthropy, right? To be able to send stock through those traditional avenues is great, especially for your silent generation donors that might have been giving in this way for a long time, and it's their preference to continue giving in this way. But what we have seen from past data is that every generation up through the baby boomer generation, so we're talking Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, and baby boomers, prefer to give online. So you're opening up the door for these donors to give to you digitally, which means you're going to acquire net new donors that are younger donors who might not give you stock at all because they don't have a broker to contact. If you've watched how stock investing has transformed over time, you know that now you can purchase stock through your banking app, through many different investment apps and tools. You don't have a broker's name and number where you can say, hey, initiate this gift to this nonprofit. That is what is so beautiful about our solution at the Giving Block. Our stock giving tool not only allows fundraisers to capture all of the donor data from the stock gifts, which was a huge pain point for me when I was a fundraiser, but it also allows you to acquire those younger donors who are only going to give you a gift online. How many Gen Z and millennials do you know that love to pick up the phone and talk to take care of business that way, if you will, right? Everything's online. We're booking our doctor's appointments online. We're paying our bills online. You should be able to give a donation in the asset that you are holding online as well. So I think for those fundraisers that say, we've already got a stock solution, we're good, you are good if you want to maintain the stock volume that you're seeing year over year. If you want to grow your stock volume, if you want to see more of those on average 50K plus gift sizes, you need a digital solution.
Yeah, amazing. So, okay. So to kind of, I guess, like, catch everybody up. So average crypto gift over 11K, average stock gift 50K. You know, let's maybe shift gears a little bit back on the crypto side. So we have seen stablecoins continue to be a big part of the conversation, and I don't want to, get folks into, I don't want the eyes to start glazing over in terms of like, wait, what's a stable coin? Why is it different than crypto? But it's something that can't be overlooked. So why don't you walk us through what we saw on the stable coin side, because I think it's an area that's going to continue to grow, and it just kind of lends itself to, again, being open to that crypto conversation in general. But walk us through what we saw on the stablecoin side.
Yeah, absolutely. So, really incredible to see that out of that $100 million processed in 2025 that came through in crypto, 32 million of that were stablecoin donations. So, you're exactly right, Nick. I think this is going to be a trend that continues. Donors are really enjoying these dollar pegged digital assets. And so, making yourself available to accept them is something that will be very smart for growing your crypto philanthropy program.
Yep. And it still seems like, of the volume of crypto that's donated, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, USDC, RLUSD kind of are the front runners, but always good to have a wide variety so that, again, no one has to make a conversion from one crypto asset to another, because then if you're in a jurisdiction where there's a tax advantage, sometimes that wipes it out. So, good to have a wide variety of assets that you can take. And I guess up to this point, right, we've been talking about just a digital transformation so that when someone is feeling generous, the easiest frictionless way for them to support your organization is going to be more and more critical as everything starts to shift more digitally into, our financial portfolios and just the way that we're transacting online more and more every day.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is really interesting to see that the Giving Block, especially, is able to keep up with all of the innovation that's happening on the crypto side. I mean, that is our origin story as really the innovators of crypto philanthropy as a sector, right? So our ability at the Giving Block to accept over 100 different types of cryptocurrencies so that donors do not have to transfer any of their cryptos to another crypto in order to donate is really critical. And it'll remain one of the reasons that we are not only the nonprofit choice, but the donor choice for processing those gifts.
Yep. And for everybody out there that's kind of come across maybe a crypto conversation where it might have seemed easier to just say, you know what, this is really great. Why don't you just convert that to cash and we'll then put that cash into the mission? May not be realizing that could mean a 4, 5, or 6-figure tax bill that the donor would then have to eat, and you might not realize that you're asking quite a lot from a donor to do that. But one thing that I think is really cool about this industry, aside from the tax advantages and why it's so advantageous, volatility in this asset class, I think, is a feature, not a bug. This asset class bounces around a lot. And so, I sort of see that as introducing many different giving opportunities throughout the year. And we saw that in the numbers. So there might be some organizations out there that really kind of peg everything to specific times in the year, maybe some organizations that kind of have everything sort of fall in right at year end. But we saw a little bit of a different story and something that was a little bit more continuous throughout the year. So walk us through kind of like what the timing looked like in terms of when people gave in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. So because we are able to set up all of our nonprofits with the ability to accept donor advised fund gifts as well online very easily, that is one of the most evergreen ways that a donor can give to you, right? Because they've already been receipted for their donation. They're able to move that money from their DAF over to your organization at any time of year. So that is one of the reasons that we love DAF gifts. It is that evergreen, really no seasonality necessary. It's more about, is your organization soliciting these donors? For crypto and stocks, every fundraiser knows this. The majority of giving does happen in the final 3 months of the year, Q4, if you will, from October to December. This year, we did see 30% of all of our crypto donations come in during that time period. December was the highest crypto transaction month, and this is very consistent that we see year over year that giving happen. And then over 60% of stock donation volume also occurred in December. So making sure that you are equipped with these tools for that critical giving period is so important. But we saw, two really exciting case studies that you'll be able to read more about in the annual report. One about Cabrini Mission Foundation's work. Their legacy in crypto, they raised $140K in their first 12 months. Just incredible work, incredible organization, operating in over 17 countries. So theirs was much more of this evergreen, buildable strategy. And then Team Water came in at the end of summer and raised over $40 million. Almost 10 million of that was raised via just crypto, and 3.6 million of that was raised during a record-setting live stream. So that really showcased that this summer to fall activity is possible across this, for these donors to want to give when the timing is right for them. To your point, Nick, the timing really matters with crypto giving because it is so volatile in its value, and the timing is right. And so I'm so excited for everyone to get into our annual report, read more about the Team Water story, read more about the Cabrini Mission Foundation, which really just shows how crypto giving runs the gamut from more traditional sustainable fundraising to these really wow factor events that can happen around market timing and having some of the right influential crypto holders involved.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some great data around what are some of those big impact moments, like you said, and then what are sort of the other organizations doing like day to day that's moving the needle in a significant way. And I guess maybe to kind of come off the back of that, there's this, I think, kind of dovetails into like what the key things that nonprofits are doing, in terms of, I don't say winning in the space, but building those new relationships, turning on these new channels, engaging with existing donors in a new way, or attracting net new donors. What are some of the attributes of these successful programs?
Great question. The first thing is to make it easy for your donor. So, a donor is not going to give to you if it's incredibly complex to give to you, especially in these different ways, because other nonprofits are set up to accept crypto stock and DAF very easily. So, they might move their money to those other avenues where it's easier to do, or they might not do it at all. So we don't want to discourage philanthropy whatsoever because our tools aren't keeping up with where the wealth is and where donors want to go. We want to encourage more philanthropy by making it super easy to accept crypto stock and DAF gifts. So the number one thing that you need to do is have that tool and have it online. I struggle to think of anything we do that does not involve the internet these days. Besides literally going outside and touching grass, most things we do are starting there, right? Whether you're looking up where you're going to go make a reservation, how to get somewhere, what your finances are. Every task we do really starts with the internet, and that includes philanthropy and philanthropic giving. So get your internet presence right first, get your website right, make sure you have the tools on your website to give in these different ways. That is the foundation for acquiring net new donors and especially younger donors. So, very important to have that set. From there, it really goes back to some of these fundraising mechanisms that every fundraiser and every nonprofit already knows. You must communicate with your donors. You need to communicate why they should be giving to you and the easiest way they can give to you. And so it comes back to the basics after that point. Once you have the tool in place, it really is about, okay, now we need to build these relationships. And to our point just now about, some of the stories that appear in the annual report where maybe one organization is building very sustainably in a more traditionally philanthropic way, and the other is building with maybe a crypto influencer involved. On both sides, what you're doing is still the core mechanism of everything that every great fundraiser knows how to do. You're letting your donors know why your mission matters. You are creating an emotional appeal to really get them involved. You're letting them know what their gift could possibly do for your organization. And all of those things still ring true when we're crypto fundraising or fundraising DAFs digitally or stocks digitally. We still have to make that why very, very clear. And from there, if we have the tool, it can be a very easy conversion to, continue to attract new donors as well as upgrade gifts from other donors. So all that to be said, I would say have the tool, optimize your web experience, and then get really clear on your why and communicate it over and over again. I think when we look ahead to this year with AI becoming more and more popular, what nonprofits need to do is focus on, again, those skills that they already know. It is about building relationships with your donors, and you can do that online. These things can translate to online relationship building. We've just got to be ready to embrace it and really go for it.
Yeah. It's something we spend a lot of time on in calls with organizations that are thinking about getting this set up, because sometimes people, I feel like, can read some of these reports or see this data, and maybe the experience might have been, we tried this once before, we had a button on the site, maybe they made some kind of announcement about it, but it didn't seem like a lot of people really walk through that door. You already said some of the things that really kind of changed that situation. And something that comes up in a lot of calls with certain organizations is, hey, we've never had somebody reach out to us proactively and ask. Maybe some organizations are asking the question because they've started to have someone reach out. But when you talked about the website and the presence and the visibility, it's one of those things where for anybody that isn't familiar with this, in order to make a crypto donation, it takes me about 20 seconds. So if it's not clearly in your ways to give page, a lot of donors rightly assume that, hey, this isn't something that you can do, or this isn't something I can ask about, or maybe if I ask this question, I have no idea how long this process is going to take me because this organization right over here is already set to go. I can do it in the next 5 minutes and move on with my day. So, what do you say to those folks that said, "Hey, we've done this before. We had a button. We didn't see anything." What do you say to folks like that?
I think this is a really great question. I would say to that fundraiser, have they ever put up a button to register for a gala and expected that that's all they needed to do in order to sell tickets or sell tables? The answer would be no. Having a button is critical because it is the actual point of conversion for that gift, but you have to attract your donors to want to give you that gift in the first place, right? The button and the tool is a requirement. It is part of the foundation, but what are you doing to really attract the donors to get to that point where the conversion can happen? With the gala analogy, I also want fundraisers to think about if they had a gala one year and it wasn't the best results that they have ever dreamed of, they wouldn't say, okay, we're never doing it again. They also wouldn't expect to only host a gala if a donor comes to them and asks, and then they're going to host one, right? So, very important to think about this is a long term fundraising tool for your organization to be able to grow revenue, acquire new donors, acquire younger donors. If you are thinking so short term that we're going to put up a button and expect that that will be enough, you don't treat any other fundraising you do that way. So why would you expect the same with crypto fundraising, right? So just kind of thinking through, okay, yeah, if I put up a button to have people register for the gala and no one registered, I wouldn't be surprised, right? How are they finding out about it? Are you communicating what the gala is for, what it's about? Are you sending out direct mail, emails, putting it on your social media if you want new attendees, right? You're going to do all of these things, and that's what it takes for a really flourishing crypto fundraising program as well. It cannot just be the tool. The tool is so critical and so necessary, but this should be a fundraising program, especially if you're looking to attract new donors, younger donors, and higher average gift sizes.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, that's what's contributing to some of these amazing statistics and the generosity that we saw in 2025. And I think we'll continue to see in 2026. I think, especially this year in 2026, with some new tax rules in the US, it's going to generate some more questions for donors. They're going to be maybe being a little bit more strategic. Maybe they have some more tax questions that you're going to want to have the answers to. And what's so, I think, convenient about this is that these are all the same fundraising muscles that many people are already exercising on a daily basis. So it's totally understandable that that crypto term seems like it's something new, and it's, this is for a new thing and new people, and I have to learn a new thing and new systems. When really, in actuality, it's a little bit of the same, just a new flavor of what you're already doing. And I think the ones that are following some of those directions that you gave are seeing that, average gift size of 11K in crypto, 50K in stock, almost $2,000 for donor advised funds. There's a lot of crypto being put into DAFs as well. I think we'll continue to see that as a big change. But I guess maybe to start wrapping things up here, Emily, like, anything that we didn't touch on, anything that you want to call people's attention to in the report, or just something in general that think is a really important learning for 2025, and what people thinking about spinning up a program like this in 2026 should consider?
Really great question. I think it became abundantly clear in 2025 as we saw different outside giving behavior change, whether it's federal funding or corporate funding, that individual giving is the future. It has been the truth for so many nonprofits. They've seen how agile their organizations become when they're depending on individual gifts, on how expedited their growth becomes when they're focused on individual giving. And if you want more individual giving, higher average gift sizes, again, those younger donors, net new donors, asset-based giving and making sure you have digital solutions across crypto stock and donor advised funds is no longer a nice to have, it is a must have. So I would say this report will help equip a lot of nonprofits to be able to speak to their teams about that potential and about how important this is. If you're not already fundraising with us, we want to welcome you to the Giving Block to help you fundraise across each of these areas because it's becoming a non-negotiable. The future of fundraising is already here. You can see it in the report. And so I definitely encourage nonprofits to really open themselves up to being innovators themselves and getting curious about what could be possible if they look at how do we not just fundraise more in 2026, but how do we fundraise smarter in 2026? And when you've got average gift sizes between $2,000 to $50,000 across these different ways to give, this is one of the most intelligent ways that you could expand your revenue as a nonprofit in the coming year.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a better place to wrap up. So I guess to tie a bow on this conversation, and if you've got the report, we'll have links in the show notes. Download it, share it, review it. You can ask our team a ton of questions. So if this is something that's kind of like the first piece of information you need to start making that case to say, hey, here's some actual hard numbers. I had an idea to do this, but I needed some, more verifiable proof that this is worth our time. We would love to have a conversation. If you have some follow-up questions, if you just want to dig into the details, you can ask us a ton of questions. We're happy to walk you through like what's worked, go through the basics, talk about something that you might be thinking about. And it could be something around planning for year end or a capital campaign or a specific event that's, you're an anniversary for your organization, whatever it might be. We can try this on something a little bit smaller to something that is very broad that opens up an entirely new channel to your whole community. We would love to help you work on this new project. And we really hope that you enjoy this report. There's a ton of statistics in there, more than we talked about in today's call. So take a look at it. We would love to hear your questions. Engage with us online. And with that, everybody, thanks so much. We will see you on the next episode. Take care.